This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, whatever time it is with you and wherever you are. Thank you for downloading this SmackDown review as part of the WWE podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you listening along once again. I am Amanda, your host of this SmackDown review. And as you know, I am back on Twitter and I am at Amanda SD Review. So give me a follow, and thanks guys. I've had some really lovely messages this week, and it's so nice to hear that you enjoy the show. I really like doing it. It's a weird thing to do, sitting in your lounge or wherever, just talking into the abyss, not knowing if anyone's listening or enjoying what you're doing. So I really appreciate those positive comments from you, so thank you. A bumper weekend of wrestling coming up with Saturday night main event tonight and Evolution tomorrow night. So let's have a quick look at both cards and see what we might predict to be some outcomes. So first of all, main event, we've got Gunther versus Goldberg for the title. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this will be a very quick match. Obviously, we know that Goldberg is aging and has quite a limited moveset. So it's going to be a quick match. I think Goldberg's going to get the win and we'll potentially get a rematch at SummerSlam. Got Rollins versus Knight. A slam dunk win for Rollins, surely. I'm sure we're going to get some shenanigans from Seth's gang. Drew versus Randy. This is a tough one. I think it could go either way. I'll go for a Drew win. As he's just back, but honestly, it could go either way. Solo versus Jimmy for the US title. I think this is a Solo retention building to a big Solo versus Fatu match. And then Evolution. Well, we've got Io versus Rhea for the women's title. I think this is a win for Rhea, and I also think this is potentially match of the night. I think this one's going to be an absolute banger. We've got Tiffy versus Trish again for the women's heavyweight title. I'm going for Tiffy to retain, but we could see a surprise in this one with Trish having another short, quick run before things are potentially rectified at SummerSlam. But I'm going for a Tiffy win. Now, as we know, both of those women's matches have the possibility of a cash-in, and I think it will depend very much on the order of the card. I think if we see Naomi versus Jade, Jade's match earlier on, we could be in for a cash-in. We've got Becky versus Bayley versus Lyra for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I think, hope, we will see Bayley with the win and get the belt. I hope so. I really think she deserves it. She's just an excellent worker. We've got a 20-women battle royale. I think this is set up for a Nikki Bella win. She was clearly meant to be heavily involved with Liv coming into Evolution, but with Liv's unfortunate injury, they've obviously had to do some pretty quick thinking and some rewrites. So, yeah, Nikki to win and get the title shot at SummerSlam, but it's hard to call, not knowing exactly who's in that match. Jacy Jayne versus Jordan Grace for the NXT title. As you know, I'm not a massive watcher of NXT, but I have seen Grace, so I'm going for her to win this one. Then we got the Jade versus Naomi no holds barred match. I think this will be brutal, and as I said before, the earlier this is on the card, the more likely I think of a cash-in. I think we will see a Jade win as she needs a bit of oomph with being Queen of the Ring from seemingly nowhere. And Naomi's got plenty of momentum at the moment with all the briefcase stuff and storylines. So I'm hoping to see this one really early on in the card so we get some interesting moments of will she, won't she throughout the other two title matches tonight. At Evolution. And then we've got the women's tag match. So we've got Raquel and Roxanne versus Bliss and Flair versus the Kabuki Warriors versus Sol, Ruka and Zarya. This is a tricky one. I mean, ask yourself, why did they resurrect the Kabuki Warriors if they weren't going to win? Equally, why did they pair Bliss and Flair if they weren't going to win? And then there's the Judgment Day angle. I'm going for Flair and Bliss, but honestly, any of the others three certainly could take this one. Now, before we get started, I'm not here next week. As Matt would say, I have a thing to do in my big girl job, but let's have a look and see how it all pans out in a couple of weeks. So without further ado, let's get to it and review the SmackDown that aired on 11th of July from Nashville. We kick off with some arrivals and we see the Street Profits. They have another title match tonight with the Wyatt Six. And Jelly Roll, someone said on Twitter this week, who? Does anyone outside the US know who this is anyway? No, but WWE seem to love him. He bumps into Randy backstage, who tells him he looks fantastic and he's proud of him. And something I've noticed is that I think you can spot the people who are on the Ozempic diet. They always have this weird drawn out face. Honestly, have a look. You can totally tell. I will try and post some pictures of some random celebrities who we know for a fact that are on the Ozempic diet. They all have a look and you can tell. Anyway, that's a sideline, which probably nobody else cares about but me. We kick off tonight with LA Knight coming out to the ring. He says that predictions and spoilers are common themes in the WWE, and there are two things that come out of Paul Heyman's mouth a lot. He says Heyman thinks he holds all the power, and maybe he does. He calls Seth desperate and lost. He says he joined Heyman and they went on to form the Goon Troop, which I think is an excellent name if they haven't considered that already. As the name of Seth's faction, I would definitely vote for Seth's Goon Troop. I can see it on the merch now. He says he wants to get serious. He says that Seth's two goons tried to end his career and injure him, and that was because Seth couldn't do it himself. He says he wants to take Seth's dignity and get justice at main event, and he says that at main event he will kick Seth's ass, and that's not a prediction or a spoiler, it's a fact of life. At that, we get Heyman out to a hell of a lot of boos, and he starts off by telling the crowd that they are off cue and stupid. He says, as Seth's personal oracle, he is blessed with many gifts, and one of those is that he can see into the future. He says Seth and his Goon Troop, I said Goon Troop, he didn't say Goon Troop, are the future of the WWE, and LA Knight basically has no future. We then randomly get Solo out and his gang, which is a very weird mashup of the past and the present, and they have an interaction. Solo says that something's changed, something stays the same. He says to Heyman, everything has changed since Heyman left the family. There's no more bloodline, no more OTC, no more wise man. Now, this is like the second or third or maybe even fourth time very recently that they are now openly talking about Roman Reigns, OTC, blah, blah, blah. I think we are nailed on for a Roman return soon, but when? Anyway, he tells Heyman to basically do one if he wants to live, and so off he scuttles. Solo is calling his gang MFTs, which I now know stands for My Family Tree, which does not trip off the tongue, but I guess we'll get used to it. Solo then addresses Knight and tells him that he's the new US champion and he beat Fatu, the one everyone is scared of. Beat him with the help of all of his gang. Anyway, he gives Knight the option to leave like he did Heyman, but obviously Knight refuses to leave, and Solo's gang, or MFT, starts to get into the ring. As they are about to pounce, we get Big Jim joining Knight in the ring. They've both got chairs and they manage to clear out Solo's gang. We get Nick out to the ramp, and he tells Solo that he runs the show and he should be worried about getting mollywopped And I have not heard that phrase for years, and I am going to try and work it in next week at least once in work situation, because I think that will be hilarious. So he says Solo should be worried about getting mollywopped at main event, but he's out here starting fights. So Nick sets up a tag match. Knight and Big Jim versus JC and Solo, who Knight, interestingly, calls JC the Stooge, which is brilliant. Backstage now, and we've got Flair and Bliss. And I have to say, I am warming to this whole alliance between these two, and dare I say, maybe even warming a bit up to Charlotte. Bliss tells Charlotte that she needs her to be at ringside tonight, as all the other women will have their partners there and they need to make a statement. Charlotte agrees, but says, do I look like a cheerleader? Bliss tells her, no, you would make a terrible cheerleader. Flair says, no, I would cheer for myself. So it seems like they are really leaning into the whole Charlotte's a selfish, egotistical thing and making it quite funny and palatable. This might actually go a long way to getting Charlotte over with the fans. It can't do her any harm to be allies of convenience with Bliss, who is firmly over and well loved. I actually think it would be a lot of fun to see these two win the tag titles, which is a complete U-turn for me. I was very anti this, but now I'm thinking, bring it on. So, first up in the ring in terms of action tonight, we've got the Fatal 4-Way between the members of the tag title match. So it's Bliss versus Kairi versus Roxanne versus Sol Ruka, with all of the other halves, so to speak, at ringside. So this one could be absolutely chaos. Starts off with Roxanne and Kairi fighting, and Sol Ruka attacking Bliss. We then get the NXT representative in this fight, Sol Ruka, pulling off some amazing moves and a really impressive tumble like a gymnast, leading to her taking everyone out on the inside. Everyone looks impressed, and Charlotte looks completely gobsmacked. They are really selling the fact that Raquel is on the outside with a face like a slapped arse, completely underwhelmed with Roxanne. Bliss owning prayers and looking in pretty good form, but Roxanne turns the tables before eating a massive elbow from the top rope from Kairi. We now get the obligatory superplex with all four women involved, and everyone is down, shock. Do we think that's becoming a bit overused as a move? We see it all the time in the men's and the women's, whether it's a tag or a fatal 4-way. Let me know what you think, because I think we've seen that just a bit too much. Back to the match, and again, Sol Ruka making another brilliant showing, but Kairi has her tied up on the top rope, delivering the double stomp, earning herself a near pin. Sol Ruka gets a power move and has Roxanne beat, but Raquel puts her foot on the rope, and it all breaks down on the outside, ending up with Raquel being taken out by Flair, whose cowboy hat does not move an inch. That is how cool Flair is at the moment. In the ring, Bliss hits Sister Abigail on Kairi and takes the win. Now, I find myself hoping that we don't have the old school, if you get a win on the go-home show, you don't get the win at the PLE. But let's see. It certainly looks like Charlotte and Bliss can coexist, as they would say. We are once again very hot on the action tonight, and we've got to go straight into the next match, which is the Street Profits versus the Wyatt Six for the tag titles. And I am still loving this Wyatt Six entrance. It is so cool. We kick off with Joe Gacy in with Dawkins, and it's a power game in the early goings of this one. Dawkins with the upper hand gets the tag. Ford taking the Mickey out of the Wyatt Six seems unwise, and this is quite a slow one, as Gacy and Dexter have Ford trapped in the corner and are absolutely mullering him. Loomis has Ford on the top rope looking for something big, but Ford manages to fight out, hitting sunset flip powerbomb on Loomis. We've got a double tag being made, and Dawkins is in and on a tear as he smashes Gacy from all angles, getting a close pin, also taking out Dexter Loomis for good measure on the way. Dawkins hits a swanton from the top that nails Gacy, and earns Street Profits another close cover, but Gacy mounts a fight back off the back of the distraction of Eric Rowan at ringside. He didn't have to do anything, he just stood there looking like Eric Rowan, and that was enough. We then get our obligatory shenanigans from ringside, where we get Eric Rowan pulling forward from the cover and Dawkins taking him out big time, absolutely smashing him through the barricades into the timekeeper's area. This one ends with an awesome double team move on forward from Gacy and Loomis, and they get the pin, and we have new tag champs. Now, personally, I'm delighted to see gold on the Wyatt Six and interested to see what WWE do with them now they are champs. I personally would love to see them all individually go on a tear through SmackDown and win all the gold. A bit like Judgment Day, have them each with a title, even short term. I think that would be just wicked. Let me know what you think of that, and let me know what you think WWE should do with the Wyatt Six now. We then go backstage, and this was quite cool. We get to see the reactions of the other tag teams to the win, and let's just say none of them are happy. The angle that everyone is terrified of the Wyatt Six is a good one. I like it. Johnny is trying to persuade everyone backstage to listen to him, and that's obviously not happening. And as a final bit here, we get Andrade and Rey Fenix announcing that they are now officially part of the tag division, which is cool. They are so good. So I guess we have some pretty fun weeks ahead of us with this tag division, which is awesome. So we now have the performance from Jelly Roll, which is actually pretty good. I like it. He is very rudely interrupted by Logan Paul to massive boos. He says that everyone is here to see real WWE superstars and certainly not listen to the music of people who have tattoos of their children that they don't even have custody of. Blimey, that's a bit harsh. I mean, I have no idea if it's true, but geez. Paul says Jelly belongs in the stage, not in the ring, which is sacred. He says he is disgusted by celebrities coming into the industry, leeching off of the successes, which he calls our successes, of a platform we have built. People like him disgust Logan. Blimey, pot, meat, kettle. I mean, wow. I'm guessing that was the point. But geez. Paul says that he set the bar for what it means to be a pro wrestler. He says he belongs here and the WWE loves him so much that his podcast has been signed on a long-term deal. Jelly Roll interrupts him and says, "This is my hometown and no one cares about Logan's podcast here." Newsflash, this isn't just in Nashville. No one cares about his podcast. I could also not give a flying focaccia, and I know I'm not alone in that. So in other news, water is wet. Come on, Jelly Roll, hand him his ass. Randy comes out and says what we're all thinking. He says, "How do you have the balls to call Jelly Roll an outsider in his own hometown? If anyone is an outsider, it's you." He calls Logan an entitled little bitch, which is just beautiful. And as he is mid-rant, Drew claymores him from nowhere and is dragged off by referees. Of course, while Randy is down, Logan attacks him and Randy is saved by Jelly Roll. Yes, Jelly Roll, words you never thought you would say out loud. Logan faces up to Jelly Roll and Randy, who's now up on his feet but is dragged away by security. Nick's in the ring trying to calm things down while Logan smashes up Jelly Roll's music kit, which is all very rock and roll. Could there be a match coming in the future for Jelly Roll? Before this segment, I would have said I don't care. Now I say I'm pretty interested in that. Show me. Backstage, we get a bit more Randy and Jelly Roll, and he tells Randy he wants to have his back, and Randy asks him to be in his corner at main event. So it looks like we are getting something more with Jelly Roll. I think potentially it could be pretty fun. I'm here for that. So we've now got this match between Aleister Black and R-Truth. Truth, or Ron Killings is it now, I don't know, is out of the block like a whippet and gets in some early offense. Black quickly turns the tables and then hitting some lovely kicks and punches. Truth goes for the dive over the top but is met with a massive kick right to the family jewels. Truth's got him outside and goes for a chair, but Black is wise to it, intercepts, gets hold of the chair himself. The ref grabs the chair from Black, telling him that he will disqualify him if he uses it, and off that distraction, Truth gets the roll-up pin and takes the win. Jeez. Black pinned by Truth. This was not what I had in mind when Black returned to WWE, and I'm quite sure it wasn't in his either. Now, I'm sure this will continue and maybe we'll get a return match, but yikes. After the match, Black is understandably furious and continues following our Truth backstage, but he's stopped by Priest, who seems to be taking the protector role, which is all a bit weird. Priest tells Black it's over, let it go. Black agrees, shakes hands with Priest, but then comes back and attacks him, leaving him laying in the backstage area. So maybe there is something a bit more interesting brewing here between Black and Priest. But to be honest, it's so disappointing to see Black being used to eat a pin for our Truth. Yeah. Okay, so let's see where we go with Black. I've got everything crossed that he gets some decent storylines coming up. Now straight out to the ring. No entrances here, not that I saw anyway. We've got Wade and he's got Tiffany and Trish with him. He asks Tiffany why she chose Trish as her Evolution opponent, and she tells him it's obvious. She's beaten Charlotte, Nia and Bayley, so why wouldn't she want to face one of the other greats? She says maybe she will be one of the greats when she beats Trish at Evolution. Trish tells Tiffy that she should feel pressure as she needs to beat her. She says when she wins, she will have nothing on Sunday and she will definitely be delivering Stratisfaction. So we're getting all the classics here. Tiffy says things are different these days, but she has seen all of Trish's accomplishments on VHS, which I thought was completely hilarious. What a line. And then Trish comes back and says, did you learn how to use a VHS off TikTok? Which is kind of weird. These two have got a good chemistry. It is just a little bit like Tiffy sparring with her mum. I don't mean that in any kind of derogatory, ageist way. It's just they are from such different eras, and Trish is 100% a great. She is awesome. But the difference between the two eras is stark. And we know that Trish had to do some pretty crappy things in the Attitude Era, around Vince McMahon and all that weird stuff with Linda being paralysed and drugged by Vince, and Trish having an open affair with Vince in kayfabe, obviously. She deserves her flowers. She's worked hard. She's definitely been through the mill. I'm pleased for her that she gets this match on a flagship PLE against Tiffy, who is without doubt a great champion. So, but it's just quite stark seeing the contrast in the eras. Anyway, I digress. Apologies. Trish says that she helped build the division and she is still delivering. She says that she loves Tiffy and respects what she's doing as a champion, but on Sunday she will become the 8-time champ. I wouldn't hate it if she did win. It would be a nice thing to see, and I'm sure it would only be a relatively short run for Trish until possibly SummerSlam. This cues our favourite deranged Naomi, who wants to remind them that she has the briefcase. Before she can get too much into anything, she is taken out from behind by Jade, and they have a brawl on the rampway. I'm really interested to see what they do with this match evolution between Naomi and Jade. As I said, I'm hoping it's quite early on in the card so we can have some shenanigans with the briefcase later on in the night. But Jade obviously is Queen of the Ring. She's going on for a title shot. She has got no oomph behind her at all. She's carrying very little momentum. The Queen of the Ring thing, for me anyway, came out of completely nowhere. I still don't think she's particularly awesome in the ring. No doubt she's better, but she is, I don't think, quite up to holding a championship at the moment. So I think they're going to have to manage that match really carefully, because I think Jade very much needs the win to give her some momentum, and hopefully Naomi's the right person for her to work with to get that for her going into SummerSlam. Now for the main event for tonight, we've got Big Jim and Knight versus Solo and JC. And this one kicks off after a reminder of what happened with Fatu and Solo. So this left me to thinking, I'm sure we're probably going to see Fatu at some point during this match. As we kick off, we've got Knight in with Solo, who gets the tag to Big Jim, but we then get the momentum shifting over to Solo. We've got JC in with Jimmy, who hits a massive super kick in the face, followed by the Samoan drop, which is impressive on a guy the size of JC, you have to say. Jimmy looking good, but he is quickly poleaxed by JC. We got Solo getting involved, pulling Jimmy out of the ring and dropping him a couple of times onto that now famous reinforced, yes everyone, it's a reinforced announce desk. Jimmy with a tag tonight, who comes in on absolute fire. JC taking JC out, hitting a jumping neck breaker, but misses the BFT. Knight goes up and looks to hit the elbow. Jimmy then up and hits the Uso splash and looks to have the win sewn up, only for Solo to come in very late on and break the pin. Solo gets the tag, looks to deliver the spike, but Jimmy ducks it. Solo does hit spinning Solo, but Knight breaks the cover this time, taking out JC on the outside. We have all of Solo's gang, MFT and Heyman. And off the distraction, we get Talatonga hitting a massive kick on kick. We then get Knight after the victory, chased off by Solo's gang, who looks fuming. Solo is looking absolutely fuming and is fully blaming Heyman. We get Knight then blindsiding Solo, hitting a BFT on him, and this one ends in chaos. Then we've got Braun Breaker makes his way to the ring, as does Bronson Reed, and they take out Knight with a spear and a tsunami on Knight, leaving him in bits in the ring once again. And that's where this one goes off air. We have Smug Heyman and Seth's goons standing tall. I mean, in effect, it's a match with no real consequences between Knight and Seth at main event. So, I mean, I get why Seth wants to look strong. He's got the briefcase, etc. But it's a bit of a weird shoehorned one again, a little bit like the Saudi shows. This is a bit of something and nothing. But I thought overall this was a solid show. Let's say a steady C. Some stories given a bit of a nip and tuck, a bit of a tidy up heading into this absolutely massive wrestling weekend, which is going to be a treat for everyone. Let's see how it all starts to pan out, as we are only 3 weeks from SummerSlam. 3 weeks from SummerSlam. Before you know it, Strictly will start in September, and then before you know it, it's going to be Christmas. So look, reach out to me on Twitter. I would love to know what you guys think of my predictions and also any other surprise return. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think we see Roman soon, maybe even at main event to line something up for SummerSlam? Do you think there's any fun returns or appearances even in the Women's Battle Royale? Personally, I would love for them to do something cool with Nikki Cross. That's my hope. And do you know who else I would love to see? I would love to see the Iconics. I mean, I think that's highly unlikely. I've heard that they're both happily living in Australia with babies and families and everything now, but I like the Iconics. I think they could have done something. And at the moment, I think maybe does our women's tag division need some solid teams? Yeah. So if you're listening, Triple H, which I'm fairly sure you're not, I'm pretty damn sure you're not actually, but I'd love to see the Iconics back, but I'll settle for them doing something cool with Nikki Cross. Anyway, guys, look, no show from me next week. So that just about does it for this week's show. Thanks, as always, for having me in your ears. And remember, until next time, be kind.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.